I want you to understand one thing, that reading and thinking are fundamentally the same. Because when you read, you think the words that you're reading. Those words become your thoughts. What your thoughts become? Two things. Your thoughts become either your actions, or your thoughts become affirmations. But what do these thoughts affirm? Your beliefs. And what becomes of your beliefs? Your identity. And can you tell me what is based on your identity? Your habits. And your habits become most of your life. That's simple. This is how books shape your life. But that's not all the ways that books can change your life. If you entertain yourself with books, even fiction ones, you'll find that your mind is way more still because they're not as overstimulating as social media, which is what you're doing right now. I'm looking at you, you're guilty. And you've probably scrolled for like 10 minutes through like 5 videos to find this one finally. And I'm warning you about this because most people become cyber zombies. I can guarantee you that if you ask someone who has consistent 3 to 5 up to 6 sometimes hours screen time every day on their phone, I can guarantee you they are drained of energy. They feel tired midday randomly. That's not true. They're not truly tired. They just depleted their dopamine, wasting it on bullshit that is overstimulating and draining them of essentially, it is draining them of quote unquote energy. Like, theoretically, you could get up and run a quarter marathon, but do you have enough dopamine for that? Not really in most cases. Physically you could do that, but mentally, do you still have enough in the tank? That's the main problem. And resetting that dopamine imbalances is the second most powerful way that reading changes your life. Because at first, when you read, you can just start reprogramming your brain. But then, as you read, you also fix your dopamine baseline. So those two factors stack on one another, and reading becomes as powerful as it is in modern day because, bro, when you read an hour a day consistently, you'll realize that like your life got like way more fun, way better. You start to enjoy not that 1 hour of reading more, but you just start to enjoy the rest of your life way more. Things that would be boring and would drag on in your perception of time suddenly don't seem anywhere near as bad. They seem kind of fun because you're okay with being alone with your thoughts and with something minimally stimulating for a long period of time. And reading is so great because you cannot read and be distracted at the same time. It works like meditation. Reading is like, puts you in that semi-meditative state where like you're relaxed, you're just chilling, and like when the thought pops into your head, you kind of get that thought, but then you pull your attention back to the thing you're focusing on, the next line of text. And that next line of text becomes your point of the meditation that you return to and return and return to over and over again. That's how it fixes your focus, because it teaches you to focus. Because focus is nothing more than bringing your attention from the point of distraction back to the thing you want to focus on. It's not, not having any thoughts at all. That is more of a flow state, but you'll get into that. And those rounds of flow state that you get into, the more you read or the more you meditate, the longer they will be able to go on, up to like 90 minutes or so, because that's where most people like cap out in their potential. But hey, sometimes you will find yourself like 3 hours deep into like writing block. It is possible. It will burn you out for way longer than your 90 minute blocks, so it's less efficient, but it will happen eventually. Believe me, I had something like that happen to me while writing a script once or twice. But now that as we are at the topic of attention span, yes, meditation will be able to, fix your attention span quicker. You can picture this as, when sharpening a knife. When your mind feels dull, yes, meditation will act like that coarse whetstone where when you start to go over the whetstone with a knife, it will get sharp rather quickly, relatively. But if you read, it's more like a ceramic rod that you have in the kitchen. You just give your knife a few swipes, it just evens out the edge of the blade, making it way sharper than it was just a second ago. But it took only like a few swipes and it's easy. It takes just few pages and it's easy to just, go through it. And most of the times in kitchen with knives you can get away with the ceramic rod. You can get away with reading if you do enough reading, but I would personally add a practice of meditation at least like 3 minutes per day. Before sleep is like the best time because you're not having anything else to do then. So you might as well just put a 3-minute timer when you're just laying in the bed and go inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale in your head over and over and over again, and you keep bringing your attention to that inhale and exhale words as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And as a thought arises, you pull your attention gently back onto the thoughts of inhale, exhale as you breathe in and out. And that is really good way to, calm yourself down before sleep. And a lot of the times, I'm not gonna lie, when I set a 10-minute timer for meditation, like somewhere later on in the session, I sometimes did fall asleep and got awakened by the timer and actually went to sleep, not completing like 10 minutes, but, roughly closely. That was at times. But as I said, meditation will fix your attention span like maybe like 3 times more, but like, it's like 10 times easier to spend 30 minutes, reading a book, even especially like a fiction book or something that's, genuinely really interesting for you, than it is to sit in silence for the 10 minutes straight. Like, yeah, it will give you the same, like 10 minutes of meditation will give you the same benefits as 30 minutes of reading. But making yourself do it is gonna be way harder sell on yourself to, put it in your schedule. Reading is like good entry into meditation. It will fix your mind on its own, but it will take just longer time. Or you can go with the fast track of the meditation. But what I would suggest is just use both. Same as like you do with sharpening a knife on a stone. First you sharpen it on a coarse stone, then you can finish it off on a ceramic rod, and when you really want it to be razor sharp, you finish it on leather strop. And the leather strop in that case would be like, scrolling on Instagram when you're like bored and waiting in line or something, for, pulling out your Kindle from your sling bag or, just a jacket pocket or whatever you can carry it, and just going through 2 pages on it. Kindle pages like really small, it takes like a minute or so. So, you can get like a few extra pages when, you pull it out a few times a day. And I'm not gonna tell you to read like non-fiction books because if you do, it's fine if you reread the books that you read. But for the non-fiction books, you really should allocate at least 30 minutes to really get in the flow and, ingest information fully, not spam of random, singular, informations, but, a bigger picture to really understand what the author is talking about. Because you will be losing context and whatever. So those types of books, self-help books in 30 to 60 minute sessions are great, but the fiction books, on the other hand, you can just, pop in and out, and it will not matter much because they are entertaining all the same. And while at it, they are not ruining your attention span like Instagram does. and that's the reason why I personally use Instagram only for DMs. If you like this video, subscribe, and if you want one-on-one help from me, you can hit me up on Instagram down below, and I will coach you to become a better reader. See you in the next video. Bye.